1 day of vaping deposits more lead and heavy metals into the human body than smoking over 20 packs of cigarettes in a single day. This was a major study that was just published by UC Davis and the Journal of ACS Central Science. And this was a peer-reviewed study that looked at popular vape brands such as Elf Bar, Escobar, and Flume. And what they determined was that these products are leaching heavy metals into people's bodies at rates far exceeding that in which you would find with cigarettes. So if you're someone who currently vapes, this is really bad news. But if you're someone who's looking to quit vaping, maybe today's video will be the motivation to do just that. We want to look at the bigger picture here. The problem with vape products is you're inhaling the aerosol, and within that aerosol is these metals. And what's happening is it's getting directly absorbed from the lungs into the bloodstream. So these heavy metals are bypassing your body's natural defense and filtration mechanisms, like your liver and your kidneys. These metals, because of how they're being consumed in the form of vapor, are accumulating at faster rates than if you were eating them and getting them in like a fruit that you eat or a food or something along those lines. We are absorbing these metals at a faster rate than the body is able to clear them when we're vaping. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the symptoms of heavy metal toxicity and some of the side effects that you might be experiencing. We're going to talk about diagnostic blood work and testing that you can get that we do with our clients to see if this is a problem for you. And then we're going to talk about detoxing some of these metals and restoring your overall physical health. Now, real quick, if you're struggling to quit vaping, we have a protocol for high performance individuals because a lot of high performance people do use nicotine and they do happen to vape that can help you get sober in as little as 48 hours with a 98% success rate. That link is in the video description. So the first heavy metal that they looked at was lead. And lead is really responsible for causing central nervous system damage. So this is in regard to your brain and your spinal cord. That can result in things like memory loss, headache, and fatigue. Now, vaping often also results in fatigue without lead exposure, just because when you're vaping, you're constantly putting your body into that fight or flight response from the nicotine release. So that's why all day long, people who are vaping are going through these extreme highs and lows all day. You're spiking cortisol, you're dropping it. You're spiking glucose, you're dropping it. You're spiking adrenaline, you're dropping it. You're spiking dopamine, you're dropping it. That's why so many people experience these extreme crashes. Lead poisoning can also result in irritability and a decreased IQ. This is especially important for younger individuals who are, let's say, in middle school or high school who are struggling with vaping. Kidney damage can result from lead poisoning. Lead poisoning can result in decreased fertility, hormonal changes, and anemia, which anemia, a side effect of that, it's changes in your blood, can be fatigue. Now, the crazy thing about lead is extremely challenging for your body to detox because of the way it accumulates over time. And if you're addicted like I was to vaping, you're vaping all day long. You're never giving your body a chance to catch up with that nicotine and potential lead detox if you're using likely a disposable vape or something with heating coils and components. This lead accumulates over time and it stores in our bones, in our brain, and in our organs. So this is a major problem, especially if you're someone who's been vaping from the age of 18 and let's say now you're approaching over the age of 30. That accumulation of damage and toxins is likely starting to build up. Now, another heavy metal that they identified in this study was nickel. Nickel mainly attacks your lungs and your immune system. This can result in chronic coughing, shortness of breath, that's SOB, asthma or asthma-like symptoms, fibrosis, lung cancer, and nickel's also been linked to nasal cancer. Remember, when you're vaping, that vapor is getting in your throat, it's getting in your mouth, it's going through your nasal passages, and all of that, the nickel, the lead, the nicotine, the whatever other chemicals are in there, the formaldehyde, the benzene, byproducts of converting that liquid into vapor, are all creating damage. Now, nickel can also result in skin rashes and skin irritation. Nickel is only cleared by the kidneys in really, really, really small amounts. So yes, your body can detox it, but it can only detox small amounts of it. And remember, the problem is if you're inhaling nickel as a byproduct of vaping, you're bypassing the kidneys, you're bypassing that detox system. So this is a major issue. Another heavy metal that they identified was I can't even pronounce this, antimony. This damages the lungs, the heart, and the gastrointestinal system. So this can result in coughing and wheezing, much like nickel. It can result in heart problems, and I'm gonna tell you a story about this. You might see abnormalities on an EKG or an ECG, same thing, which basically shows the electrical conductivity of the heart. All right, we're currently working with a client right now inside our one-on-one addiction exit protocol, and we've ordered for this person an entire cardiac workup, which we'll talk about these tests more in a little bit, including a stress test, an echocardiogram, an EKG, and then due to their risk factors with like a family history of heart attacks, we're also running a CT scan on their arteries, a dye-based CT scan to check for plaquing and inflammatory buildup. These heart problems, I think, are way more common than people realize when it comes to vaping. This heavy metal can also result in stomach issues, including vomiting and diarrhea as side effects. You have to ask yourself, why are they identifying these heavy metals in people? Well, it has to do with the degradation of the heating coils and the other metal components found within inside these disposable devices. And I should say, most of this research is focused on the disposable vape devices, which are the most popular things going right now. Hyde Bar, Elf Bar, like it said, Flume, whatever, all those different brands. What they found, and this is even scarier, was the older that vape becomes, you are increasing that heavy metal degradation by 1,000%. So if you have a vape that's old and you've been hitting it for a really, really long time, I used to do this. You can you'd be sucking on a dead vape almost. You can taste the metals in it. That's because the more times that vape has been heated and cooled off, the more degradation or decomposition of those metal components you're getting. So with older vapes, with age, you're getting even more release of toxic heavy metals. I see this all the time. I do a lot of work in high schools. I also work with a lot of teens, and they're constantly like fraying wires or using their computers in their classroom to charge their vape products. And they're essentially smoking or vaping fried products all day long. And they'll joke around. They'll be like, I can taste the metal in my mouth. It's disgusting. It's a burnt vape. Well, you are actually tasting the metal, and you're depositing that into your liver, your kidneys, your bones, your heart, your brain. All the organs in your body are exposed to that. There's also some general risk that you should be aware of when it comes to heavy metal consumption. Your cancer risk increases, your immune system function starts to drop, you get endocrine disruption, so this could cause thyroid problems or things like that if you're starting to see that on your blood work. You can decrease your overall bone density and bone composition. Nicotine also plays a role in this because it's a vasoconstrictant. It decreases the blood flow to the bones. That's why surgeons will tell you stop using nicotine before a surgery because it leads to more failed surgical outcomes. But you can lose bone strength. I personally developed osteopenia and osteoporosis from years of abusing vape products, cigarettes, cannabis products, and stimulants like energy drinks and things like that. You get decreased wound healing. So if you get injured, your chances of healing are less likely. And overall, you wind up with decreased energy production at a cellular mitochondrial level. That's why so many people, when I have them quit vaping, we might supplement with something like creatine monohydrate if they're really struggling with that fatigue to help with that ATP production. It ages you. At the end of the day, vaping creates an oxidative reaction inside the cells of your DNA in your body. This is literally speeding up the aging process to your skin, the aging process to your bones, the aging process to your brain. You are speeding up, you are fast tracking aging when you are vaping, especially now considering that we're getting this consumption of heavy metals along with it. Here's some of the things. When I'm working with clients one-on-one, sometimes we'll advise certain health tests be ordered. And I do that for a few different reasons, of which I'll explain. But if you're concerned about this and you're experiencing some of those symptoms, you might want to talk to your doctor or check out our one-on-one addiction exit protocol with that link in the video description. You're going to want to get potentially a serum or blood level lead, nickel, and antimony test. You're going to want to get a complete blood count, which is known as a CBC. And I usually order this with a differential panel. This is where we're going to assess for your immune system health. We're going to assess those your white blood cells, your red blood cells. We'll look to see if anemia is developing. We're going to want a complete metabolic panel to assess the health of your organs, your liver, your kidney function. Is your body's systems, detox systems, still working properly, or have they been damaged, and do we need some supplementation? We're going to want to look at the health of your liver because that's a major detox organ. We're going to want to look at the health of your kidneys because if we're seeing decreased kidney function, then we definitely have to start questioning heavy metal toxicity. And then we're also going to order a panel for people when it comes to testing zinc and selenium. Typically, this isn't covered by insurance, but zinc and selenium, if you have healthy levels of it in your body, are natural defense mechanisms to heavy metal. And so many people out there are deficient, especially in selenium. Some other tests that I may order for a person, especially if I'm worried about lung health or cardiac health, is a lung x-ray, a stress test from your cardiologist. This is where you run on a treadmill, an EKG, and an echocardiogram to actually look at the heart. In some cases, I will order these tests for people after they've quit for a while because I remember laying in a cardiologist's office watching my heartbeat on a screen next to me. And it wasn't just the do-do-do-do-do-do, the little line. I could literally see a picture of my heart beating. When you see an x-ray of your lungs, when you see your heart beating, when you're trying to do a stress test and you can't do it because you can't breathe, suddenly this becomes very, very real. If someone's going to quit for health reasons and they're not having serious health problems, you have to try and make those health reasons more realistic because your heart, your blood pressure, you don't feel this stuff every day. It's not something you can see. And if you don't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind. But I have had clients request that we set them up with this testing because they know deep down, once they actually see these things, it's going to give them that extra push to change and actually quit, an extra push towards quitting because suddenly these health effects start becoming very, very real. And I'm doing this right now with a gentleman owns a major marketing agency, super successful, typical type of person we would work with in our programs. And I think he's only 26, 27 years old, and he's already starting to have health complications. He's also dealing with some fatty liver as well too that's developed potentially as a result from vaping, spiking the blood sugars, maybe some poor nutrition, but we're going to get all that fixed up for him. Luckily, he's super young and he'll be able to fully recover. The older you get, the less the chances of recovery. In some cases, I will also look at supplementation for people when they're quitting, but I usually don't like to recommend supplements until we have blood work so we can coordinate the two. But generally speaking, this is one of my favorites. NAC, N-acetylcysteine. Not only has this been shown to help reduce obsessive compulsive behaviors, but it's also been shown to help with the production of glucosamine, which is essential when it comes to your body's detox capabilities. Massive fan of N-acetylcysteine if there was one supplement you were going to get from here. You'll see on our YouTube shopping, we actually make a chewing gum, Kick It Crave Less chewing gum right below. And that chewing gum is made with N-acetylcysteine and something called KSM-66 ashwagandha to help reduce stress, reduce anxiety, help with detox, reduce cravings. Milk thistle. This is really good for people if we see that their liver health or their liver is suffering on their blood work. Zinc, 15 to 30 milligrams a day. It competes with lead and nickel for absorption, so it blocks the absorption of lead and nickel. Selenium, like I said, really important supplement that a lot of people are deficient in. This can help bind mercury, lead, and arsenic to clear it from the body. Activated charcoal is an occasional one I'll use. I'm probably more likely to use something like spirulina, which can help bind these things in the body to clear them out. Alpha lipoic acid, 100 to 300 milligrams a day. And then I'm personally a huge fan of beetroot powder. It's really good at promoting healthy circulation, which is often damaged in people who smoke cigarettes or vape a lot, or even if you use nicotine in like chewing tobacco or snus. But beetroot powder is also one of those really good supplements when it comes to detox. Now, I wouldn't recommend that someone just goes and buys all these and starts taking all of these each day. You really want to coordinate this to your labs and your blood work. And this is something that we do with people inside our addiction exit protocol when it's warranted. Real quick, if this is interesting you and you think you need a further workup, we have that protocol. It's built specifically for high performance individuals. So you're an entrepreneur, a business owner, a medical professional, an attorney, a real estate individual professional, you're an investor, a consultant, you work in high level sales. We have a protocol for you, 98% effective at helping people quit in as little as 48 hours. And you can learn about that with the link in the video description. And we go way beyond coaching. Like I said, because of my background, I have a doctorate in chiropractic. We have the certification in functional medicine. We're really be able to go beyond just helping a person quit. The goal is not only to help you quit, but it's help to get back all the things in your life that you might have lost. In this case, physical health being a major one. So if you value that stuff that's important to you, there's a link there. Okay, now lifestyle changes that you may want to make. We want to make sure that we stay hydrated. And a good way to do this is with electrolytes. I like the Santa Cruz electrolytes found on Amazon. Those are probably one of my favorites. You could consider going to a sauna, ideally an infrared sauna. That's going to help more with the detox. Exercise is paramount. It's so important, not only for detox, but also helping with dopamine regulation. We want to make sure that we're having daily bowel movements, which, although this might sound funny, it's actually a very big issue when people quit nicotine. Constipation, I have seen be a cause of relapse. I can't tell you how many times when it comes to a person quitting nicotine. But before I just spew out solutions to that, I need to know more about that person's health history. Are they on other medications? Are they consuming other substances? What's their nutrition look like? And that's why I'm not going to hit you guys with supplements on that right now. Fasting is an option, especially if you have experienced fasting in the past. I like an 18-hour fast to a 6-hour window of eating. But if you are fasting and you do think you're suspicious of heavy metal intoxication, you're going to want to make sure you're consuming electrolytes throughout that fast. And I would highly recommend using N-acetylcysteine, zinc, selenium, and then spirulina when you break your fast as a binder to help clear out all those toxins. Because if you're just fasting nonstop, those toxins are just going to get recirculated because there's nothing binding them to clear them out of your body. And then, of course, we want to focus on sleep and eating healthy from a lifestyle standpoint of detox. I recommend fruit, typically your berries, because berries are going to help with that blood sugar regulation. And berries also have a little bit of sugar, so it gives a little bit of a dopamine hit. And then, of course, we want to focus on healthy sleep. When you're sleeping is when your brain and your body heals, restores, and recovers. If you're drinking alcohol, if you're smoking weed, common things that I was doing, and that so many people that I've seen in our one-on-one programs do to try and help with the sleep when they quit vaping, you're actually working against yourself. You're not giving your body the environment it needs to completely detox. I had a gentleman inside our one-on-one protocol. This was years ago, they were in kind of the investment space. And what they were doing was they were quitting vaping. But when they called me, they were like, yeah, well, I'm coping with the insomnia by drinking alcohol at night. And I had to explain to them, you're not actually getting a good night's sleep. You're ruining your REM sleep. and you're not, and now you're putting more poison into your body, and you're making your body, your liver, your kidneys work overtime. And he was like, that's crazy, because I notice when I drink, I fall asleep fast, but I wake up during the middle of the night with my heart racing. And I was like, yeah, that's your liver trying to process the alcohol, waking you up at night, trying to tell you something's wrong. So, and I've seen this mistake time and time again. It's just a lot of people don't know how to appropriately approach this stuff. Okay, here's the number one thing at the end of the day. You have to quit vaping. That's the number one thing. And I have seen time and time again, I was guilty of this. People will go buy all the supplements, they'll exercise, they'll change their diet, they'll do all these things to try and detox their system, but they'll fail to do the one thing that actually matters most: quitting smoking, quitting vaping, quitting the drug. And something that I don't like about today's video is that it creates a lot of fear. And what happens when people are already fearful about their health and they already have health anxiety regarding vaping? How do they cope with that fear? They smoke more, they vape more, they just do more of it. So I don't like quitting vaping out of a place of I'm forcing myself to quit because I'm worried about my health. I'm fearful for my health, so I'm going to force myself to quit. Typically, that just results in more vaping, more consumption. So the question then is, how do you quit? And I put together a video for you to help you get through nicotine cravings right here. So follow me into that one next, because that's probably the biggest challenge you're going to face when it comes to quitting vaping is the cravings.